guys, welcome back to 100 Days Machine Learning Crash Course. Today we want to continue our discussion about Pandas package and discover the methods and functions in Pandas more. Okay, the first thing that we want to learn about that is handling missing data in Pandas. Okay, for this, let's import Pandas and NumPy and create a data frame. So for creating data frame, you should use pd.dataframe, and you could pass dictionary to that. And instead of missing values, I put nan in here. So let's say we have two missing values in here and no missing value in here. Okay. Now you see that this is our data frame. Okay. For removing missing values row-wise, you could use drop_na method. Okay. In here, as you could see, because I have a nan value in this row, so Pandas remove this row. Okay, and also similar to that, for this row we have two nan values, so Pandas remove this row also. Okay. Now let's say you want to do this column-wise. That means that you want to remove a column that has nan value in column, not in a row. Okay, so if you want to do that, you could use access equal to 1, which we talked about it last session. It means that we want to perform our method on the columns. Okay, if we run this method, we could see that we just hold C column in here because other columns A and B have nan values. Okay. Now, just note that again, when you don't use in place, your actual data frame is unchanged. If you want to change your data frame, you have to use in place through in here. Okay, but we don't want to change our original data frame, so for now we just set it equal to false, which is the default mode for Pandas. Okay, now let's say we want to fill the nan values in here with another value. So you could use fill na that and pass the value that you want to Pandas replace the nan values with that. For example, in here I want to replace the nan values with something. So if I run that, I will see that instead of nan, I have something in the data frame. Okay. Now, many of times you want to replace the nan values in the columns based on the mean of that columns, because commonly the columns means that they are some features. For example, instead of A, you have height of somebody, and the B maybe it is the weight of some people, and so on. So you want to replace a height of somebody that you don't have his or her weight or height with the mean of this column. Okay, so in this situation you could use, you first select that column, then you use fill NA. That means you want to replace the NaN values. Then you pass the value equal to, we want to replace them with the mean or average value in this column. So if you run that, we could see that now instead of NaN values in this column, we have 1.5, which is the mean of 1 and 2. Okay. Now we want to talk about group by. Group by actually allows you to group rows and call aggregate function. For clear that, let's say we have a data frame. Let us create this data frame. So let's say we have gender, this male, male, female, and female, female, and male. And the names are John, Jack, Sarah, Olivia, Lily, and Maddie. And we have some height in here, 172, 174, 181, 184, and 175, and 170. Okay. Okay. We have some data set similar to that. So in our data frame, we have a gender column and name and height. Okay, now let's say we want to extract the mean of the heights based on the gender. So in this case, we want to know what should we do. In here, we could use group by. So if we use group by method based on gender and see the output, let's say we put it in another data frame, and now you could use the mean of this in here. So as you could see in here, now I grouped the data set based on the gender, and now I have the average height based on the genders. Okay, so, and also instead of doing it in 2 lines, we could also do all of that in just 1 line by putting mean in here. Okay, and also you could use other operations in here like max. So you get the max and mean based on the genders in here, and also similar to that you could use mean in here. Okay, so in that case, by using group by, you group the rows based on the columns that you want to group the rows based on that. And also you could use describe method, describe, to see the count, the mean, standard deviation, and other useful information for your work. Maybe it is useful for your analysis in the data. Okay. Now we want to talk about merging and concatenating data frames. Okay, I hope that until now you learned a lot about Pandas. Actually, you should be able to do lots of stuff until now, but now we want to introduce to more advanced functions in Pandas. So let's say we have a data frame. Again, let's say A0, one, two, three, and similar to that, we have this for B, C, and D. Okay. You could do this with me to get a better sense and intuition about the functions. Okay. And we could pass the index as 0, 1, 2, 3 in here. Okay, now if we print this, we have something like this, and we want to have df2 and here we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now let's say we want to concatenate this to a data frame. For concatenating, you could use concat from Pandas. Okay, and you should use it with, you could pass the data frames in bracket. So if I run that, you could see that Pandas concatenate row-wise. So they are concatenated, as you could see in here, in actually row-wise manner. So you have 0, 1, 2, 7. But if you want to concatenate them in column-wise manner, you could pass, as always, axis equal to 1. So in this case, you could see that this is the second data frame, and because the index for that is 4, 5, 6, 7, and we don't have 0, 1, 2, 3 for data frame 2, let me show you. In here, you could see that the indices is just 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we don't have 0, 1, 2, 3. So these are NaN values in here, and we just have these values. And for the first data frame, we don't have these indices. Okay. Now we know how to concatenate to data frame. sometimes you want to merge two data frames. Let's say we have two data frames. We create key. It is K0, K1, K2, and K3. With A. This is B, and this is A. Okay, now we create another data frame. So in here we have the same keys, but we have C and D in here. Okay, if we print the data sets, we will have something like this. So we have different columns names, A, B, C, D, but we have a share column name with some common key values. Okay, so we want to merge this these two data frames. For merging, you could use merge method from Pandas with pass df1 and df2, and you should use on. It means that which column Pandas should use to merge these two data frames. In here, the columns that we want to use as the merging criteria is key columns, and you could use inner in for how to merge them. Actually, you could use some other options that they are not really necessary for you to learning them in here, but you could look at the documentation of Pandas to learn about other more advanced options for merging data frames. So now if I run that, you could see that in here we will have the merged data frame in here. Okay, so it is pretty straightforward to merge two data frames. Okay, now we want to talk about operations in Pandas. Let's say actually some operations, because already we have seen max, mean, and other operations but now we want to talk about other existing operations in Pandas. So let's create again a really small data set. For T23, and we have column 3, A, B, C, and D. Okay. Now already you know that if you want to print n first values of your data frame, you could use head. And by default, the head values is I think 5, but you could pass n equal to 2 in here. Now you could see that it prints just 2 rows from your data frame. Okay, if you have a very large data frame and you want to just see some samples from that data frame, you could use the head. It is very handy method to see what's going on in your data frame. Okay, to see the unique values of a column, you could use, now let's say in this column, as you could see here, I have 23, and I just want to count the unique values in here. If I want the unique values themselves, I could use unique. So first I select column 2, and then I use unique method in here. Okay, now you could see that I have 23, 17 and 14 here as unique values. If I want to know how many unique values I have in this column, I could use n unique. So you just need an n in here to get the number of unique values. Sometimes maybe you are more comfortable to use len. So first you could extract unique values and then get the len of that array. Okay, now another useful method is value counts. Let's see what happens if we apply that method. Now, as you could see in here, value counts just count the values of each value in your column. So for 23, we have 2 rows. Okay, 23, 23, and so on. So this is very useful method when you want to count some data in your data frame. Okay. Okay, now let's say we want to apply a function to a column of our data frame. So let us define custom function that takes x and return x squared. Okay, and now we want to apply this function on the second column in our data frame. Let me print the data frame. Okay, you could use apply method for this purpose. It is really useful in Pandas. So first we select the column that we want to work with, then you should use apply method and then pass your function name in here. In here I want to use custom function. Okay, now if I see the output, you could see that we have squared values of the original data frame in here. Or instead of doing that, you know, you actually learned about the lambda function in Python. So instead of writing lots of function, I could use lambda x squared, which is more compact way to write this function. Okay, or even you could use other methods that are built in Python in here, like len. If you apply len in here, you will get error because it says that integer has no len. So we could select the third column, which has some string in here, and the string values have len as. So in here we could see the output. So it is really useful method in Pandas package. Okay, and also there are some other operations that maybe you are interested to work with, like sum, that gives you the sum values of a column in here. And also maybe you want to sort values of your data frame based on second column. So we will see that now we have sorted values based on second columns in here. As you could see, the indices are changed now based on the second column ascending order. Okay, the last thing that we want to talk about that is reading and writing CSV file with Pandas. For reading data frames, for reading CSV file with Pandas, you just need to, it is very easy, you just need to use read CSV and pass your directory of your CSV file in here. And for writing your data frame, you could use to CSV and then pass the output name of your file. And sometimes you don't want to save this indices. So in this case, you use index is equal to false. Especially this is useful for probably if you want to submit your results in Kaggle or other competition websites, you could use index is equal to false in that situation. Actually, Pandas can work with other types of data like Excel or SQL or even HTML data to read them and save them, but they are not as common as CSV files, so we don't want to make it complicated in here. Okay, let's recap what we learned this session and yeah, finish this session. Okay, first we talked about handling missing values in Pandas. For handling missing values and remove them, you could use drop NA. If you use drop NA without any input argument, the default mode of Pandas is row-wise, so it removes the rows with NaN values. But if you want to do it column-wise, you could pass access equal to 1 to the drop NA method. And for filling NaN values in Pandas, you could use fill NA method. So you should actually pass the value that you want to replace with NaN values in your data frame. So like something in here or anything else. Many of the times you want to replace NaN values with the average values based on the columns. So in this case, you just pass the mean value or any other values of that column, maybe like median or max or mean or anything else as value in here. And you should select your columns in here. Okay, the next thing that we talked about it is group by. We talked that if we want to group some data based on the rows, we should use group by. So in here, I have this data frame and I want to extract the mean and the mean height of the people based on their genders. So I want to group people based on gender and then extract the mean of the heights. So in this case, you should use group by method and then use mean or max or any other method in here. And also we have another method called describe to see the different characteristic of the different groups in here, like mean, standard deviation, and other characteristics. After that, we talked about concatenating and merging data frames. For concatenating data frames, you could use concat method from Pandas. If you don't use access in here, by default, Pandas concatenates the data set row-wise. But if you want to concatenate data sets column-wise, you could use access equal to 1 in here to tell the Pandas to concatenate the data frames column-wise. The next thing is merging data frames. So in this case, you probably have two data frames with same column values, and you want to merge the data frames based on that column. So in this case, you could use merge method from Pandas and pass the key or anything or any actually column name that you want to data frames appended based on that key in here. And we always use inner for our work, but maybe you want to take a look at other options in Pandas documentation. The next thing that we talked about that was more operations that we could do in Pandas. So we defined a data frame, and with head we could see and samples from our data frame. If you want to extract the unique values from a column, you could use unique method in on your column. And if you want to extract number of unique values, you could use nUnique or just apply len on your unique values. Definitely this is a better and more clean way to do that. And for getting the counts of based on the column values, you could use value counts to count the values of a column based on the values. So in here I have 23, so for 23 I have 2 of 2 rows and so on. The next thing that we talked about it was applying a function on a column of your data frame. So for applying a custom function or any function on your column of your data frame, you could use apply method. So first you select your column and then use apply method and pass your function name in here. And also you could use lambda expression actually, which is kind of function for writing more compact way for writing functions. And also you could sort values of your data frame based on the column values with sort values method. For reading a data set from CSV file that you probably face when you want to download a data set from Kaggle or anywhere else for for a competition, or when you work in a company, you probably download the dataset as CSV. Then when you want to load it in Pandas and work with that in Pandas, you should use read CSV method to read that dataset. It is so straightforward. Also, when you want to save your data frame as CSV file, you could use toCSV method. And if you want to remove this index, you could use index equal to false in here. Yeah, that's it. So now you know pretty much about actually pretty much everything about Pandas. And so yeah, you could use Pandas to analyze or manipulate your dataset. I hope you enjoyed from this session and hope to see you in the next session. Bye.